Okay, now we're going to start playing with alpha channels. Alpha channels are the key to any special effect you've ever seen in television or film, and so we're going to use these alpha channels to start to create a cool effect, if you will. So again, we'll make sure that the playhead is at 0 seconds, 0 frames, because that's where we need it to be, because we want to start separating parts of this image. And again, we'll do that by using a alpha channel. As a matter of fact, one of the simplest alpha channels that you can use is keying. As a matter of fact, that's what we're going to do. We're going to play around with some keying in here. So under the Effects tab, we want to make sure that that layer is selected. So we'll go Effects, and then Keying. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look for something called a color range key. So take a look in there, color range. Okay, so that's basically the one we want to play with. So the color range now opens up because that's our first effect. And here's our color range here. And what we're seeing basically is an attempt to key parts of this building out. You can actually see it starting to do that. But obviously not to the full extent that we'd like it to be. So what we're going to do now, to help us kind of see where there's problems in the keying, we're going to go to our composition and composition settings. And there's our master composition. And by default, the background color is black. But what we're going to do is we're going to set it to a red color. So now when we click OK and we click OK, we can see the background bleeding through. So that is obviously not, the kind of key that we want. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start to take our key and try to kind of get rid of stuff at the key. And the stuff we want to get rid of is the sky. And we'll replace the sky. So what we're going to do now is do just that. We're going to start keying out the sky. So initially what we'll do is in this little color range window, you're going to see there's a little eyedropper. So we'll go right into the mid range from the darkest side of the sky to the brightest side of the sky. And we'll click and you'll see a red swath up here. So remember, that's the background, right? That's what that red swath is. So we're starting the process of basically eliminating the sky. So now we're going to go to that eyedropper plus, and we're going to start clicking into other parts of the sky. And in essence, what we're doing is we're keying out the sky. And this is just the first step in the process. So now that we think we've got it totally clean, we're going to add one more little effect. It's called a matte choker. So we're going to go to Effect, and under Effect, we're going to look for the word matte, and there's matte. And what we're going to do is put a matte choker on there. And a matte choker basically is going to tighten up that key, if you will. So what we'll do first off is you'll see geometric softness 1. And what we're going to do is we're going to set that value, lower it down to 2. And that should add some effect. And then we're going to go to the geometric softness 2, which is just below there. And what we're going to do for that is we're going to adjust that to a value of 2.5. And what that's doing is kind of tightening and choking up the mask a little bit. Now you can see there's some of the red sky kind of, the red background bleeding through. And that probably because there's a little bit of blue in there. I mean, I could go here and I could play around with that to get rid of some of that. But, I'm just going to leave that alone for now. We've got our matte choker set up in there. And I think for the most part, it's going to work. There might be a little bleed through, but you know what? We're going to live with it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the project panel, and you can see there's a storm cloud layer. So what we're going to do is take that storm cloud layer, we're going to drag it and put it underneath the building. So what happens is now the storm cloud, because the sky is keyed out, because that was the red background, we're going to now see that storm cloud layer. Well, it's not. We don't want it to be storm clouds. We're actually going to change the name to clouds. And again, because it's a layer name, it's not going to have any effect. Those clouds are kind of angry, and we don't actually want it to be angry. So we're going to turn off that building layer temporarily so we can see the sky. Because what we're going to do is we're going to play around with this layer. And so we'll go to that clouds layer. And first off, it's a little too large. So we're going to hit S to reveal the scale value. And there's 100%. It's locked. So we're going to drag that down to about 60% to scale it down a little bit. So it's not quite as looming. So yeah, about 60% ought to do it. And then what we're going to do is we're also going to reposition it a little bit. So we'll hit P, you'll see position, and what we'll do is we'll leave the X value alone, but we'll slightly modify the Y value by dragging it down. And you see we're raising the kind of sky in the background. So we'll drag it down about 145 or so. You're going to see some trees starting to come up. That's okay, because the trees are going to be behind the building, right? And again, if you turn on that eyeball, you don't see that. So all we're doing is basically repositioning the clouds, and then we could close up those properties because we're done playing around with that. And now, because like I said, the clouds are kind of angry, we'll make sure we got that layer selected. And what we'll do is we'll do some color correction on that. So again, we'll go Effect, and we'll go down here and we'll go to color correction. And under color correction, what we're going to do is look for auto levels. And auto levels basically is a predetermined preset. And what that's going to do is it's basically going to negate some of the gray. And again, if you turn that on and off, you can see how it's adding a little bit of blue in there. So the skies are looking a little less angry and a little more bluish. And now you can see, how we've kind of got rid of that old bleached out sky and replaced it now with a new sky. And yeah, so it probably should have done some saving. And since I didn't do it, I should probably do it now. Even though my autosave vault is working, it still doesn't negate you from saving constantly.